Present.
Councilmember Rizaldi,
Present.
Mayor Juliana.
Here. We have a forum. Please stand for your pledge of allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you turn the evil
Do it again? I do it, Gene. Next item is item 3 is moment of thanks, appreciation, and condolences, and far too often that we have to provide time for prayers and condolences, and I just want, me personally, and we can do that still, but I wanted to highlight some positive things locally. One is that there's a guy in Shannon probably knows about him, so there's Todd, Rudy Quintanilla, and Gilbert knows him. He actually volunteered for the food bank, and he's cleaning up the veterans parking lot. And he's basically wants to adopt it to actually start cleaning it up. Rudy Quintanilla, not Rudy, not your Rudy. Also, we may have talked about it before, and thanks to the Central Coast Vietnam Veterans Association for moving the memorial monument from private property to the city property. And they're actually going to, they have a memorial paver project that's going to go on the actual sidewalk around the monument. And that's, you don't have to be a veteran to actually, it costs $50 and you can put your name in memory or whatever you want to do, but you have to contact Deke Segovia.
I think they're still down.
They sold out already? Okay. And the other one, and I'm sure Christina or somebody else will bring it up, the volunteer cleanup on Earth Day here locally. It wasn't advertised like Santa Maria was, but it was advertised through your program. Yeah, she's gonna talk about it, I'm assuming. Yeah, no, she can talk about it later on.
I was in the baby, I can tell, so. Well,
Okay. Okay,
Also, you need to have really, I see you Saturday morning.
oh yeah, there was a group of us cleaned up along Nelson and Point South Dunes on Main Street, so that was a fun project, and that thanks to the Chief Cash, Patrick, Jacob, Sway, did a lot of work to clean that up. And by the way, by us being out there, people would stop by and say, I'll volunteer and help next time, and then go on down the line. We all know that there was a lot of rain everywhere, so there's weeds everywhere, not only here in Guadalupe, but everywhere. And it's gonna be a long time before we catch up, so it's best if we get people together and say, let me help clean it up. Also, we had the general plan approval, and Christine Arden from EMC, who did the planning, and Todd knows about it, he saw that, is that the city received an announcement, the city of South Guadalupe, the 2042 general plan won an award. The award will be a comprehensive plan award, small jurisdiction award of excellence or merit. Also, they'll be submitting that for our general plan for 2042 to the state for, well, here's a.
That's the placard.
That's the plaque, okay. Yeah. And then also recreation economy for rural communities that happened a week or so ago. And then also tonight you'll see Guadalupe Community Resiliency Plan coming before us. And if you combine all these things, there's a lot of positive happening in Guadalupe. And we should be proud of what's going on and just hang on to our seats because it's going to move real quick. And that's not to talk about other things. We've got Central Park, the Royal Theater, Leeward Park expansion. So those are the appreciation for all those that put that together and those items together. Any other comments on that or not on anything? Condolences or anything?
Well, I think my appreciation for everyone that came out for the cleanup on Saturday. I think it showed what the community of Guadalupe is all about when we join together.
That was a good write about it. Was that the Times? Who took pictures of that?
Somebody did, yeah, I thought.
Yeah, those pictures of it, maybe, but it was good.
I think it also, just wanted to thank Mayor Joanne and our councilwoman Hernandez and everyone that participated. It was such an eye-opening experience for a lot of people who take it for granted, right? They were talking about, hey, we need to clean up, and so maybe they didn't participate in specific activities, but I saw neighbors cleaning up outside. It sort of got everyone excited about getting back outside and really tidying up and really focusing on our environment around us. That was a really great way to kick off spring, changing weather, and I think you summarized a lot of really great things there.
There's a lot. So, next item is agenda review. Is there a council person that wants to redo the agenda as written? There are no hands. Next item is item 5, is community participation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
just,
sir.
we wanted to, want to remind you that, staff has requested that we cancel the closed session item on, labor negotiators.
Is that number 14?
Number 14.
Yes, number 14. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just one, I mean, could have mentioned it, but if anyone's waiting for that, I didn't want them to wait all the way through the meeting. Thank you.
All right, item 5 is community participation. Individuals can speak up on items that aren't on the agenda and can do so by filling out the form or raising their hand. And our first elegant speaker is Amelia Villegas. You gotta get up there, man.
I wanted to mention that this week, which started Sunday through Saturday, is National Library Week. And excuse me, I encourage everybody to utilize our small branch here. As a member of the Friends of the Guadalupe Library, which is a volunteer group, an auxiliary group that helps to subsidize is not quite the word, but assist the operating budget of the branch here. We provide funds to purchase books for all levels of patrons, be they children, teens, young adults, adults. In both, many are in Spanish as well. We're getting more and more requests to purchase books in Spanish. Library cards are free. I hope everybody has a library card, and if you don't, and I hope that's nobody here right now, that you just go to the local library. And when I say local library, I'm speaking of Guadalupe here. If you live elsewhere, go to your local library in the city that you live, in the neighborhood that you're residing in. The library cards are free. All you have to do is go and tell one of the staff members at the library you need a card. You get it immediately. You're able to use it immediately. There's no wait time. You can check out books, DVDs, if you still use DVDs. Many do. Many do. It's a popular item. You can use the computers, though a library card is not necessary for that. There are 6 computers, and there are also 2, I call them junior computers. There's a technical term for them, I don't know, for young children, and I've seen little people using them. Wi-Fi is available during the time the library is open, and the library hours have changed because of a hiring of another staff member. So the hours are Monday through Friday, 12:30 to 6, Saturday 10 to 2:30. Wi-Fi is available. Excuse me. Wi-Fi is available during that period of time. You're also able to utilize the interlibrary loan system, which is called the Gold system. And if the book isn't available at our branch here, you can request through the Gold system, through the staff member there, and they will attempt to not purchase it, find it, and get it reserved for you to pick up at the branch here, regardless of where the book is located. Most of Santa Barbara County and most of San Luis Obispo County utilize the Gold system. Just recently, the city of Santa Barbara and the city of San Luis Obispo chose to remove themselves from the Gold system. But it's very easy. You go down there, if the book isn't there on a shelf, you tell the staff member, I want to reserve this book. They'll go through the system and find out what branch it is, and then you'll get a call. And I use it quite frequently. Also, I want to mention that this Saturday is the, what's it called, Strawberry Festival. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Fair Park. In the Convention Center, Santa Maria Main Library will have a table with some activities there. And if you go on Saturday, which is the 29th between 12 noon and 3 p.m. I will be there as well. So you can ask any questions you might have on the branch, libraries in general. And in addition to myself, there'll be a staff member from the Santa Maria main library, and another friend of the Guadalupe Library will be with me, and that's Cecilia Nunes. That's all I have on my cheat sheet.
One thing, your mother, she knows a lot about libraries. And your mother, when would, the Guadalupe Library was over there at the Vets Building before.
Yeah, when she started in 1964.
I wasn't even born yet, though.
I won't comment. 1964 through 1982, 83. She first was in what we refer in the family as the small branch, which is where I think AA is.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Right.
And then I remember I was living in San Francisco and she called and she says, oh, we're moving to the new branch. And a big branch, so I thought it was a building somewhere. Well, it was where the Historical Museum is now. That's the big branch. And yeah, I lived at the library
Yeah.
since I was,
Yeah.
I won't go like that, since I was young. All right, thank you.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you take book donations?
Oh, absolutely.
So just.
In fact, if you have any, several members, myself included, on tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I'm gonna go down there. And we have 2 closets of donated books, and we're gonna be going through them because we're gonna be utilizing them for giveaway at Cinco de Mayo. So if you have some right now, that'd be great, and just drop them off. And if not, tomorrow, prior to the 5th would be great, and if we can use any of them for giveaways, that'd be great.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next individual that wishes to speak is Denise.
I can't spell. My name is Denise Bargan and I live. I can't, so my name is Denise Bargan and I live in Canada.
Wait. Okay,
Can you hear me now?
there you go.
I don't have the strongest voice.
Okay,
Can everybody hear me now?
yes.
Hi, Council. My name is Denise Bargan and I live in Pasadena on Hacienda Drive. I've been having some issues with a neighbor parking in front of my house. And after I repeatedly asked him not to, he made it clear that he would continue to park in front of my house. And I only have one space in front of my house, as I have a fire hydrant next to me as well. There's no place for my elderly mother to park or friends when they visit. And I'm requesting that the city provide at my expense a parking permit or something similar so that I can park in front of my home. Thank you for your time and consideration. If you have any further discussion, my information is provided below. So.
Thank you. Chief Cash heard you, so.
We already had a meeting.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Denise. Any other requests to speak? Not on the agenda. Seeing no hands, we'll go to the consent calendar. The following items are presented to the city council for approval without discussion as a single agenda item. Is there a council person who wishes to pull an item?
I would like to pull a B.
B,
B.
warrants?
B.
Any other council wish to pull an item? Is there a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar?
I'll motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Item B, approval of payments and warrants for period ending April 17, 2023. Christina.
So I am new, so I was curious, I did see something that kind of caught my attention. There's Common Sense Consulting for $5,000. And I was wondering, what is like the current maximum threshold on this warrant? There's like a policy for a current maximum threshold?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the breakout from, I believe anything under 5,000, as long as it's in the budget, the city staff can, go ahead and, make that payment as long as it's in the budget. And typically they go up for quotes, and or 50,000, I'm sorry, cheapers. Yeah, it was one time 5,000 and they increased to 50, now it's 50,000 and below.
So 50,000.
Yes, sorry.
And then can you send me that policy?
Sure.
I'll do it right now.
You asked about that particular 5,000?
Oh, yeah,
Is
yeah.
that for the amount, or is it, what was the payment for, or?
Yeah, I was just curious if we have some consultations in the police department, is it a one-day training? Since I am new to the city council, I would love to know more.
It's in the police department. I don't know. Oh, it's just, yeah, it was the management training that, chief, and us and Hannah and all of us attended. It was a 6-hour training.
So I have a question. You don't have a question, sorry.
So this was a one-day 6-hour training for all employees?
For the management team.
Do we have a follow-up on that in terms of results, or is there?
Well, the chief, it's his guy, so.
Yes, this was something that would, have been brought up about a year ago from a previous HR about, as far as our management team doing a team building session and just, being able to communicate and talk and work together and so forth. So it took us a while till we finally found, this consultant. And he came in and, like I says, we did the day as far as the entire management team. As far as that training, I just saw him not too long ago, and he was asking about some kind of follow-up. He wants to come back just to check with us, gave us a, was that a workbook, I believe, that he sent everybody? Yeah, that was a follow-up workbook so that we can kind of log where we're at and what we're doing, and he wants to do a follow-up. So, and the way that worked is, he did that training, but we have an understanding he's gonna do a free training, at least for public safety and team building as far as everybody else. So that was the trade-off, that he would do this with the management first. I get a chance to kind of take a look at it, and because we did that, then he's offering to do a free similar training for all of public safety.
This one was 1,000 per hour for the consultant treatment. Just curious, more or less. I've done some for comments and consulting. That's why I'm interested. I've taken a leadership class, and that sparked my interest because I like that leadership
You want that
development.
job next time?
I know, or maybe training.
Yes.
Okay,
Go ahead.
perfect.
Okay.
You know what, I just had, when you brought that up, now I have a question. So in terms of training and then being a budget item, did this go under a separate training budget? Where are we at with that? Maybe Janice would know. Is that something
Well, I
that?
mean, there's different training for
Yeah,
each
For
department.
each department. I noticed this one has PD marked in front of it, so.
I took the cost.
You took the
Yeah.
cost on this one, right? And because you also had, I know we sent our code enforcement officer also this month to training, so I know that came out too. So I had noticed that as well, wondering where are we at with that budget item, and have we spent everything already? Or I mean, how are we doing with that?
We got a great, I'm just saying, this is as far as our finance, she sends me my expenditure sheet monthly. So, oh, she's trying to find it. So we're within budget for fire and police. So our first thing is we always look at what's our mandatory training, and then we kind of work around that so that we know what's already gonna be spent. And then we just kind of see like what our needs are during the year.
Okay, is there any other questions regarding B? If not, is there a motion to approve approval of payment for warrant period ending April 17, 2023? We need to approve, if we want to approve it.
A motion to approve, 6B.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for elaborating on that. That was really helpful.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Thank you. Next item is city administrative report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just mentioned that I got an email, and I'm sure the chief did, that there was some kind of groundbreaking for the Santa Barbara regional fire communication, and evidently that was about an $18 million project to be built in Santa Barbara. And I'm sure the chief could elaborate more on that. And then FEMA is Abdi Farhang contacted me, it was just real recent, that there is a good chance that during the floods, it did some damage, you know, to the parking lot at Leroy Park. And there's a thing called mitigation, where if it's showing that, if it's showing that there's you know, going to be continual flooding, if you leave it as, you know, hard pack, class 5 gravel or whatever is on there now, you may not have that type of damage if it was paved. And so because it's paved, all we have to do is send them, you know, our information on the budget of what that would cost, and they probably pay for that, along with some work with the water treatment plant as well. So there's a high likelihood that we're gonna get that paved on federal dime.
No, you said it's not paved now, it's just.
It's not paved now,
Yeah, so,
but to mitigate, they say you wouldn't have this issue had it been paved.
right.
So that's the,
That's good.
so that's something we're sending, work staff is gonna be sending off, and the chief's probably aware of it as well, so.
I'm gonna build a wall around that too, so.
Yeah, and I know that there's some work too that Shannon's gonna be sending off to them, and
Oh, it's good.
then we're waiting on an inspector to go look at it, and then we should be good to go. Also, expect that there'll be a notice to propose 6th Amendment to the joint exercise of powers agreement for 3C Energy. This 5th Amendment just added was the city of Atascadero, and then it sounds like there's gonna be another request for one of the counties coming forward with to be added to the 3C Energy. That pretty much is the rest of my report, except for what was written in attached in the agenda packet.
And I think it's important, and I mentioned earlier regarding the recreation economy, very significant report that you have presented here, so. I think this should be shared with anybody that is really concerned about our recreation, rural recreation and income that comes in regarding that, so. Is that it? That's it?
Yeah,
I-
yes,
A couple things. Sorry. Two things. One, on the first bullet point, when you met with the superintendent, you guys spoke about the Townsend Group and their working relationship and how that was going. Are we moving anywhere in that direction of potentially working with them more? I was kind of excited to see that discussion had.
we don't really have a contract with them, but we did use them to help write
Right.
the grant to get one for the Royal Theater. What I know that there's been some discussion, I think you had mentioned it'd be neat to have a grant writer. But having one grant writer to cover all kinds of the different disciplines within a city is complicated. Like if we just hired a grant writer to write grants for, say, Shannon Shop, well, Shannon's the only one that's really gonna know how to put in the right language, because she understands that, whereas just one grant writer might be a problem. So the idea would be, if you're interested in this, would be to procure, and I know the school, that's where I kind of got the idea, was from Dr. Handel. A grant writer that has maybe, I think they have like 100 grant writers in different disciplines. So if we ever wanted to go for something, that would be the group to utilize. And he said the return on the investment has been immeasurable. I don't know what kind of grants he's gotten there, but it sounds like he's been pretty successful. So if it's something that the city's interested, we could think about it during the budgeting process.
I think that's something we should at least explore.
Yeah.
In terms of what it would cost. I do know as a parent, I can speak from a parent standpoint, I can say the school has been able to obtain a significant amount of grants in the last couple of years that have really been impactful. So maybe that is something we need to look into, at least to get numbers.
Yeah.
The second thing,
Go
sorry,
ahead, no.
we had some email traffic on Tesla outreaching and potentially adding some stations. Were you able to get in contact with them and maybe give us a brief update if
Yeah.
that was?
Yes, I think the council may have gotten an email, but Megan had sent me an email about Tesla, and there's a project developer that was interested in Guadalupe because of Highway 1, and the idea that there's some gaps, you know, they usually go around in a different area, and they're thinking this would be a hot spot for Tesla to come and charge. So I got on a little Zoom call with, Larry today, and we talked about the potential. They typically locate themselves in, at the Pismo Ball, and you'll see them there are targets. A lot of times it's on private property. But I also called the Dune Center, to see if, there's some interest maybe, in the Old Far Western. So I don't know if there's interest there, but it's an opportunity. They're looking at 8 to 20 spots. And what's nice about it is they come to town with their money and their big cars, and they could stop, and the idea would be in downtown, and they could charge up and then go get a bite to eat and spend money here. You could, if you wanted to, they don't typically do it on the side of a street because of the hookups and the way it works, and Caltrans could be a problem. But they have done it in public parking spaces as well. They're not always gonna have cars there, and they, if, let's say, if you were to do the Veterans Memorial parking lot, you could do that. And my question was, well, what if there was a weekend event? Can you shut it down? And he said, yeah. So I mean, if you're interested in exploring the idea there, we could do that if you want to put it on public property. If not, I thought I would float it out to some of the landowners in town, like they're also interested in Pasadena and the 18 acres. Which could be a neat little, the only problem there is they're just gonna park there and charge, and they're not really gonna be downtown. So I think it's a great opportunity, and I think just the marketing of it and the idea of it makes us really modern kind of, and I think people would love to. I think it'd be a destination in a sense to charge up the vehicles. So I don't know what your thoughts are, and that'd be great to pursue.
Well, I'm excited at the idea. I think, I don't know if I support necessarily Pasadena side, only because it's so away from downtown and our goal of sort of bringing business to downtown and that whole spirit of revitalization and that foot traffic. And if they can shut it down to where we have some flexibility, let's say at the city parking lot or the Vets Hall, that would be, ideal. But I definitely think that's something we should look at, and it sounds like a good opportunity. Especially because financially, it doesn't sound like we'd have to put up much.
I think that there's an actual requirement for any establishments, new establishments to actually have charging stations at the new facility. And I know Shannon's, I was all over this in terms of having one renovations. You want to speak a little bit on that, Shannon? A little bit?
I'd be happy.
I know you are.
All right, I need to. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The general plan does include requirements for new establishments, new commercial areas to have a certain number of electric vehicle charging. So you are correct in saying that when Pasadena builds out their commercial, there will be requirements for electric vehicle charging. There are currently 2 free electric vehicle charging spots at the Veterans Memorial Plaza. I'm putting in a Clean California Local Programs grant per council's direction that is due this Friday. So I've been working diligently on it this week. I'll have everything in on Thursday. I have to get 3 more letters of support. Part of that project includes 2 electric vehicle charging spots. Even if we don't get the grant, the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities grant that we got will be for a restroom and 2 vehicle charging spots at the Amtrak station. So even if we don't get the Clean California grant, we will still be able to move forward with those. We'll know about that grant in September of 23, whether or not it gets awarded to us. And then in terms of the Veterans Memorial, if you are interested in something along the lines of Tesla, it is appealing from the standpoint of the existing charging stations that we have now are free. And I approve that invoice. So I know how much electricity is going, towards free charging. The Tesla setup is not free, and so it's not on the city's dime. It would be a minimum of 8 spots. And if council wishes to go in that direction, those are 8 spots that then would be dedicated to electric vehicle charging stations. Now, I've never seen that parking lot full, except during events. So I feel that dedicating 8 spots specifically to that would be a good thing. I would just be looking for direction on whether or not council feels the same way.
Well, if we don't do that, we're behind the 8 ball. We have to move forward with it. And are these quick charging or are they regular?
The Teslas are quick charging.
Okay, okay.
It
No, I
would
would,
be great
we
for
need,
the,
we need to do that.
for the economic vitality, for the interest in our downtown. Having 8 of them means there's more reliability, having only 2, makes people feel a little nervous for driving an electric vehicle. So, it sounds like council is supportive of this.
No, it doesn't. Please don't discuss this any further. It's not agendized item, so we'll bring an item to you for public discussion and an open session in the future, if that's all right.
Good informal chat.
Thank you.
Don't worry.
Todd, anything else?
Yeah, that'll do.
No, you're okay.
I know I'm a bad guy.
Okay,
Dummy downer.
all right, Item 8, Director of Public Safety report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I have my report that's attached. The only other follow-up things is, first of all, I'd like to thank, Councilperson Wazaldi. We've been going to a lot of meetings together, showing up at different places. We were at, Mackenzie, middle school, really regarding, emergency alert process. There was an incident that had occurred and there were some concerned citizens. And so it was a good way for them to show not only the parents, but us also what their process is and how they kind of deal with things. It's not a cookie cutter kind of thing, but it's good for that communication between, at least for us, public safety and the schools. As what they're going to do, so at least we can do some kind of follow-up. And that kind of segues into, we talked about grants. I have a meeting tomorrow with the school. They were talking about, they're applying again for their school resource officer grant. But we have some challenges, staffing and budget wise. So we have some different ideas that we're going to float out there with them. With the bottom line always is making sure that our schools are going to be safe for our kids. I'd like to thank our community citizen who came forth about the parking. If you can arrange another meeting this week in my office, so we can kind of maybe go through a little into the weeds on how we're going to do this. I would appreciate that. We had a situation where an outside attorney service did a cease and desist order with one of our stores concerning tobacco. And we contacted them and, but the thing that they had not re-upped their retail license. And that's something that, I looked at upon myself as far as just communication with our finance. They have to, all our establishments, we have 8 that sell tobacco. And every year they have to purchase their retail license. And that kind of segues back to, I'm sure that the mayor remembers when we had the county come talking about as far as health, and we had an F grade, and you made a point, you wanted that change. And we got an A grade, I think the following year or so. And that was because we really worked with our establishments to get rid of those cigarettes that were being sold to the kids. And we instituted to also the permit process. All our establishments, once we found out that they had not, we were working with finance, and I appreciate your office really reaching out so we can communicate. And the process that we do here is they come to my office. They'll either drop off the check or let me know they have the check. I can now write them off on my list, and then we schedule their inspection of their stores. So we got a really good group that are working with us to make sure that they abide by the law and that they pay their fees. So I like to just kind of give a shout out to our establishments as far as being like really stand up and doing the things that they should be doing. That was kind of our fault that we didn't double check to make sure that those things got done. But everyone is stepping up to make sure that those are done. And last but not least is, Todd talked about, today was a groundbreaking ceremony down in Santa Barbara with the, new fire, communication center. And that's where all departments will be going to that, communications center. So all the fire chiefs and fire departments and some public officials were there. So that's a huge step forward as far as what's really happening. We're separating the communication for the fire department and law enforcement within the county of Santa Barbara. So it will supposedly decrease the response time, but we're unique here in Guadalupe. Police and fire respond together. We're the only ones in the county that kind of do that. So either way, you're gonna get one of us very fast. So we're under really 3 minutes most times as far as response, which the norm is, the industry standard is 7 minutes. So we're really proud of that. So that's what that groundbreaking ceremony is for. So that's my report. If there's any questions.
Yeah, just a comment, the long arm of the city, police department, we got a call from Tennessee, their car was towed. And then you have a whole list of here on code enforcement, code compliance, and it seems like it's pretty active in terms of ticketing, which has been a need for a long time. So how's that going?
Well, I'd like to thank the council for the increased presence in my office. Maybe that's the best way to kind of say it. I do need an attorney. They were out the door, let's put it that way. We did some towing, Operation Night Tow has turned to Operation Anytime Tow. We were on Point South just prior to coming here. And what we're doing, and I talked with the tow companies, we've worked out a pretty good system. They really want us now. The way we're doing it is we're trying to tow vehicles that have some value first. Before we really, so that way they can hold the cars to make sure people pay. So they're a business. And so it's really working out. We have a 2-page list of vehicles, and they're really happy with that. So we're towing in the day, towing at night. People are coming to the office and everyone wants a meeting. But what's really happening is most of the things that we're towing for, cars have not paid their registration since, we had one that hadn't paid registration since 2012. And he thought that was my fault. And somehow, if I helped him, he said he was waiting for his tax return. I said, that's a long time to wait for a tax return. He says, well, I'm almost there in the money. So it's slowed down. But yeah, we had about 6 or 7 that came through in last week. And we had a line outside the door and everyone was really upset because they get a ticket and they got their cars towed. And they have to come, the tow company likes what we do, and I did not really recognize is that to get your car released, you have to come to our police department and I have to sign it for them to get released. With the sheriffs and CHP in Santa Maria, people don't have to do that, and that causes a friction at the tow company because they're arguing there at the tow company. So when we do it here, they argue. Well, they're nice to me at the office because I won't sign, I got an attitude, but then when they go to the tow company, there's no argument. So the tow company appreciates our work, so they're coming a little faster. So we have a good working relationship. People are understanding. We still got a lot of anger. I told you that was coming, so, so we're really stepping up, and I appreciate, like some of our citizens here from, Pasadena, you know, and we've made sure that it's equal around the entire city. So it's not one community. We're really going like all over the place. So it's working. It's a lot. Let's put it that way. It's a lot.
And what's surprising to me is when I get a need to renew my license, if you don't do it, you get dinged.
Mhm.
And you see some vehicles were 2 or 3 years. Deficient. So I think it sends a message out there, get your tags, if you can afford it, if there's a rationale that you can't, then, I feel sorry for you.
Well, one that I don't know came across anyone's desk here. We had a gentleman, his car and boat were connected. And we towed both, because they hadn't had, registration, but he was so upset. Because he goes, I know someone around here is the one who called, and it wasn't, we we're just going through it. But it was kind of interesting because we had a former mayor a block away that was to the south, a former mayor that was a block away to the north, a former mayor that was, or a mayor that was former mayor's like 2 blocks away, and a former mayor that was 2.5 blocks to the east. And it's like, we got too many political people around this area. Because I know it's a mayor, and I go, well,
How's the current mayor?
I don't know where he lives, so that's a non-issue. But, we're really trying to do it back, and our citizen here, we're doing something a little bit different. Pasadena, we had a list, everyone took care of theirs before we even had to tow. I don't know how they found out that we had a list, but they took everything off the table. But we're going to, I think we talked about having a community meeting. We're gonna take the police trailer out to one of the pocket parks.
Yes.
Parks. And the thing about it that I didn't know, but I guess they brought to my attention is we kind of talk about how some Guadalupe sometimes thinks Pasadena is different or vice versa. Well, within Pasadena, I guess there's a silo and
Yeah,
there's two.
There's titles differently.
Yeah, and I had issues. Well,
Paseo, I think.
Yeah, and I had issues with that. Well, they don't come to our meeting, and so there's divisions. It's very interesting in these community meetings. So we're gonna stage one out there to talk about how we're gonna continue this process and let people know, we're not enforcing CCRs, but there are things that we will enforce as far as just for the city ordinances.
Okay.
So just something that you mentioned, which I just really want to highlight as a response to something we asked for, which was enforcement should be across the board, right? This is a citywide issue, not a Pasadena issue, not a Puentsal issue. And that was really important for, I know, myself and other members. So I appreciate that this is really about the city. This is not about one street versus another, one neighborhood versus another. This is really about what kind of property values do we want to maintain? What kind of neighbors do we want to be to each other? What do we want our streets to look like? So these ordinances have been on the books for some time. They've been vetted. They're in a response to a need. I believe it's cyclical. I think this is, in light of the pandemic and really an inability and really a courtesy not to enforce things during that period because, businesses were shut down. Law enforcement was having to prioritize. I think once everybody is educated and understands that this is across the board, it's not something new. I hope that once it's explained to the citizens that this is the rules, this is the law, some of these aren't even ours. I mean, having valid registration has nothing to do with city council, has nothing to do with any decision we've made as a Guadalupe decision. So I think it sounds like there's, complexities to each situation. And my hope is that neighbors will talk to each other and be supportive and understanding that public streets affect everyone, not just your home. So I appreciate all the work you're doing. I know it's difficult. I have worked for the public and dealt with angry people. I know it's a challenge, but I also know that you are doing your job. You're doing what has been asked and what the citizens have asked for. So there's a lot of respect to be held in that. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, any other comments? Questions?
Yeah, I'm just gonna tack onto either his report or my report, even though it's not related. I just was looking at my notes and talking to Shannon that April 11th, they stopped discharging to the river. Yeah.
Who stopped discharging?
We did.
Oh, wastewater.
Okay,
Yeah,
They meaning wastewater treatment.
good. That's important.
That's huge.
Now go fix the roads.
I'm just saying thank you, Scott.
And pull weeds.
Okay,
I'll take it.
Okay, we'll go to item 9, approval of Guadalupe Community Resiliency Plan 2023. Good report, Tiffany Gonzalez, Community Development Director, LEDG. You're on. Actually,
Hello. Thank you for being here. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. Tiffany Gonzalez, Community Development Director for Los Amigos de Guadalupe. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and so this is my first time doing this. I'm nervous.
You'll be great.
Thank you. You got that.
we're gonna rate you now, okay?
All right. She gets a 10. Cool. Right. Got it. I'll do it. All right. You'll be my favorite. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hannah. Okay, so with the report, I have a little presentation to go with it. That's kind of how I went with this here. So this is our recommendation that the city council adopt resolution number 2023-30 approving the Resilient Guadalupe plan as written. And so go ahead to the next slide. This is where I'll provide some background. The city of Guadalupe was awarded a planning grant from the State Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG, for the renovation of Leroy Park. Los Amigos de Guadalupe, also known as LADB, which at the time was called Rural Community Development Corporation of California, paid the $5,000 in required matching funds after the city council approved a submission of the planning grant application on November 14th, 2018. LADG, which was RCDP at the time, was awarded a contract with the city on October 9th, 2018 to administer this grant, which included a requirement for the preparation of the Resilience Guadalupe plan. Next slide, thank you. The work on Guadalupe's resilience plan began in early 2019 with an introductory presentation to the city council on February 26th of that year. Initial progress was strong, leadership meeting in the spring, and those are some of the photos that you see up there of 2019, and the first stakeholder meetings in September and November of that same year. With the onset of COVID-19 in March 2020, the formal Resilience Guadalupe effort was put on hold as the community shifted its energy to an immediate response to the pandemic. And then just a few things to highlight in that slide. We did hold over 30 different meetings, and also try to engage as much as the community as possible. You see some of our youth in those photos, to our seniors. So I just wanted to really highlight the work of the previous team that did this work, and I'm just closing it out. And that effort to really get that, the efforts of civic engagement there. And so pre-COVID, LADG created a Facebook page. LADG developed a community survey, which had over 150 responses in both English and Spanish, and created a leadership team, which held over 12 meetings throughout that process. So additionally, well over 200 people attended one of many public community meetings. As I mentioned, the engagement of our youth and our seniors, as well as city staff, council members, and many of our service organizations. The planning efforts did start with remote meetings via Zoom. Several remaining community groups were held along with the 7 focus groups, all completed in 2021. Which completed what was an extensive community participation. And so due to COVID-19 and staffing changes, shortages within LAGD, after the outreach effort was completed, the plan was placed on the back burner for quite some time. The draft was formalized and released for public comment on February 10th of 2023. The draft plan was placed on the LAD web page, and to save us time, I have screenshots of the web page. No from experience. So not just our web page, but also our social media pages. An email was sent out to LADG 400 strong, which included everyone who participated in the planning effort and asked to be contacted, and was announced on As you saw, the Facebook page with a physical copy placed at City Hall in the Administration Department and the Guadalupe Library. It should be noted, no comments were received at the close of the comment period on March 10th, 2023. And so, as part of state CDBG planning grant requirement, the program requires that the resilience plan be approved by the city council via a resolution. With the packet, that is the full plan, if you want to read this a little bit more, but I do believe we also need to get you a copy as well. We'll follow up with that. And so for our discussion here, the final draft has been placed on the LADG website. Past events, data collected, recorded Zoom meetings, presentation slides, and much more are also on the webpage, which LADG will be leaving on their website to allow the city, community organizations, and community members to have access to the plan and all the materials and data for a future initiative to implement the plan. Along with a list of assets and impediments and comprehensive list of community data. The plan has some recommendations which are directed to the community as a whole and not just city staff or the city council. While some recommendations would require city to implement, others could be picked up by community organizations. Some recommendations due in part to the time this plan took to be completed have already been implemented. For example, many members voiced the need for better parks. And since those comments, the city has renovated Leroy Park and the community center and awarded $5 million to renovate Central Park. And I think we have some pictures of Leroy Park there. One picture. As another example, early in the process, business leaders and community members identified a need for a better relationship between the city and the business community. With the support of the city staff and council members, LADG facilitated meetings with both city and business leaders and local nonprofits, which led to the incorporation of the Guadalupe Business Association. Fiscal impact, while this impact has no direct fiscal impact, plan has no direct fiscal impact. The plan has the potential to generate funds, with the data and findings being a valuable reference document for grant writing for both the city and community organizations. And that is my report. Any questions?
Just a comment, and kind of a side note, you notice, I felt like I was coming into a new building today. You have a picture of the city hall. It's been painted, so that's cool. And that just, there's an indication that things are moving forward. And if anybody is a grant writer, all I have to do is take this report and use it. Because you have so much data in there, there's so many meetings that were put in to focus on and what you got here on paper, so. It's amazing, you combine this with the general plan update, it really sets the tone for where we're gonna go, so.
And the work document.
Pardon?
The work as well, when that comes out.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
That's your action plan.
so comments from council.
I just wanted to second what you were mentioning about the documentation and the amount of time spent and efforts to engage the community and how well it's written. So I appreciate the time and really found it to be just nice to see it all in one package. I mean, living here, obviously, we've been hearing about things and participating in things, but to see it all come to the table is wonderful. It's really wonderful.
Is this gonna be some kind of button? I'm sorry. Is it, you mentioned, yeah, come on up while I'm asking her a question. You say you have is it coming out, we have it here, is it coming out in a booklet form?
Yes,
Okay.
so I just need to know how many copies, because we will include the approved resolutions that be included with that.
55? No, I'm just kidding.
Making some
Alejandra.
comment, I
Okay.
just want to give so much credit to Tiffany, because it didn't look like this a few months ago. And she really did the work that needed to happen for you to have something that looks like that, so all the credit goes to her.
Tiffany.
And I do wanna just make note of our CDBG reps. They are really awesome gals. they want to see Guadalupe succeed. Even though they're up in Sacktown, Sacramento, they really like what we're doing and the potential that we have, and so they're there for us. They're one of our biggest supporters, and along with a few others who help support, I really want to thank our CDBG reps because they are on it. They help push us. I'm open to ask any question, whether I feel it's dumb. They never make me feel any question I ask them. And so I really like our CDBG reps.
You know, and then to echo Alejandro's comments, I know that you were given a fishing line just all tangled up.
Right.
You did an excellent job, and whoever helped you needs kudos too, because it was tough putting this together, so.
Yes, it was.
Any comments,
Thank you.
any comments from the?
No, just thank you, Tiffany. That was passing of a few different batons, but you wrapped it up and did a great job, and that was actually a very nice report. So thank you for all your hard work, LAPG, so much appreciated.
Sounds like he wants to move on a resolution.
All right.
Is there a motion to adopt resolution 2023-30?
I'll make that motion that we adopt 2023-30, approving the Resilience Guadalupe Plan as written.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Robles,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
I,
Councilmember Lizaldi,
Aye.
Mayor Julian.
Aye, all ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As a side note, Tiffany came over from Community Health Centers, and today I saw Jesse Nichols and Patrick Starr, and they said to say hi, that you're doing a good job, so. Okay, go to item 10, City Hall parking restrictions. Bill?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see the chief's head is down, but he doesn't know we're gonna tag team this, because I just assisted in carrying the water up the hill. But I'll get the ball rolling.
Downhill.
As you know, there was a parking plan, a traffic plan that the chief initially negotiated with Guadalupe Union School District back in December of 2022. It's implemented in January 2023. Certain people didn't like it and asked that it be brought to you for consideration. That plan is still under consideration. But the chief also proposed a parking plan for City Hall in anticipation of alleviating parking problems out front here that were anticipated. The plan was part of that meeting, but since no action was taken on part of the council, that plan was not approved as it was. But there has been a decision to move forward with the parking plan. And I was asked to assist with that, and it was not an easy fix to make that happen because of a number of things. The plan calls for 10-minute parking as opposed to 20. Our ordinance only allows 20-minute limited parking, so we had to propose an amendment to change the ordinance to allow 10-minute parking. We don't really have permit parking program per se, but we have we've already done a pilot program by resolution. State law allows us to do that. So we prepared a resolution. That's why there's two things that are necessary, resolution and ordinance, to make this plan happen. Not that you're necessarily in agreement with it. And to talk about the plan itself, I'm going to ask Chief Cash to take it from here and answer any questions you may have about what is being proposed and whether you like it or don't like it.
Okay, thank you, Phil. What the plan really calls for is, all of you have noticed the congestion that we have here. We have a school, which has a large number of students and faculty, very limited parking in that aspect, so that's taking part of it. We have our community members, we have people who come here to do business, and we have no off-site parking really for our employees. what this would entail is a way, hopefully, to assist all those parties there. To be able to assist our employees to have some kind of dedicated parking in the front, and then to also have a few spaces available for people who want to come to do business here at City Hall. And that would still leave other open spaces for people in the community, or they have some other kind of business here. Having that, there's enough spaces to be able to allow all that. What the things that we've kind of worked with, and I know Councilman Jean, we've stayed off of 9th Street, so that's helped the teachers. With the morning class session, we're in a pilot program that closes off 10th. So having this would alleviate, at least in the mornings, that's when we have the clash really between teachers, parents, and employees having the parking. This would not impact as far as the residents, they have their parking. And we had enough spaces that would allow our staff to park only. I think our time limit was between 7 and 5, if I'm correct. Yeah, from about 7 until 5. Those parking spaces, I think we had about 11 or about 12 parking spaces would be dedicated to employees for the 20-minute parking for people who want 10-minute parking for people who wanted to pay bills or either had meetings here at City Hall. And I think we had about 8 parkings that were just open to anybody. So no one can say that they've been excluded in that process. That's
too easy, chief. You can't.
Well, I'm confused.
Please. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry.
Megan?
So the layout shows 20 minutes, but you're saying that
Yes.
it's 10, correct?
Yeah,
This is the current or is this the proposed? 'Cause
I'm sorry, I didn't have another diagram and I was under the gun. I know, it's not my fault, but you're right.
I'm looking at the right.
You are looking at the right plan, just ignore the sign. Ignore the sign that's there. That sign was wrong on 2 fronts, as I mentioned in the staff report. It indicated that the minimum, the 20-minute parking was from 8:30 to 5:30. Well, the ordinance requires it from 9 to 6. So just that diagram is completely correct, except for the 20-minute parking should be 10.
Because it also says it in the language.
I'm sorry?
It also says it in the language below.
Yes, I'm
So I was
sorry.
making sure.
You're correct.
So we're doing 10-minute slots with everything else matching, correct?
We could do 20. We did get a comment from Ms. Boyston.
Please read that.
You want me to read it?
I do.
Okay, I will. You usually do
No,
that. Sorry.
I was gonna read it.
Okay. It's regarding this item. After reading the proposals for parking site and length of parking times, I support having 20-minute parking. Just getting to the finance department, 1 person at a time, please, can take most of the 20 minutes allowed. And to meet with administration or other departments, the same comment applies. And where do contractors, applicants for permits, et cetera, park? Surely more than 20 minutes. No, I think I'm not sure what she was trying to say. I think she's saying, where would they park? Well, there's still 8 spots available for that kind of. And she concludes, I urge the council to give this thorough thought before placing signs and lettering. Shirley Boydson.
Todd, you get a comment or several?
20.
20.
Yeah, I believe 20.
I'm going with 22 only because by the time you,
Okay, so that diagram works.
and even though we have public parking, doesn't mean we're still not gonna have parents or teachers parking there because it is public parking. So if those are taken up and we only have 10 minutes to get in to pay your bill or to ask a question or do business, I think it should be 20.
To be fair, I don't think the chief was going to have anyone cited after 10 minutes, just to be fair.
I was
mean-
gonna ask my next question, who was gonna enforce this?
I know, exactly.
Well, the
If he's
police,
doing his job, he was.
the,
All right.
the police department.
It was just kind of joking.
Yes, the police department is empowered to enforce, they are the only ones empowered to enforce that. And like I say, I think it's more of a deterrent So that somebody wouldn't be tempted to park there
Yeah,
too
it's
long.
just a deterrent.
Christina, you had a comment? Or,
No, I think that 20 minutes would be great, just because we said.
I have some questions and comments, so, Gene,
What about a parking meter in front?
Oh, my.
Right there, so nobody can stay there longer than a certain time.
I believe we have authority for parking meters in the code. That would be something that could be
Be on the city
authorized.
hall, then that way nobody can say.
We used to have those in town, if I'm not
uh,
mistaken.
that was gone 30 years ago,
But it's still.
because nobody could maintain them,
They're not cheap either.
They're not cheap.
but they can, you know, if you have
Right here in
parking
front of
meters,
City Hall,
plus
then there's,
paid meters, like you have in
Yeah.
San Luis Obispo,
Mhm.
I get, I
you
don't
get
know,
up to 2 hours.
yeah,
So are you, how many?
East
Just right here in the front.
Like the whole,
No, have your employee ones and then the ones that are be open for
So it'd be 8
people to
stalls.
use.
I
To
think
come
the
in.
20
So when we have each slot pay, so the employees can pay too, and then those revenues go to public
no.
safety.
No,
you know, this is like putting toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah.
You know,
Start with this.
first of all, Shannon, I have a question for you and also for Hannah. Hannah. I have a question for you and for Shannon. How many, if you had a meeting with recreation, with Parks and Recreation people and Public Works, how many vehicles would that be?
Can you answer the question?
Yes, if you had a meeting with your Public Works people and she had a meeting with, at the same time.
The
with,
staff.
The staff.
Yeah.
How many trucks would you have out there?
7.
7. Where would you put the 7?
Across the street
Then in front of
I would
shooting
ask
doors?
them to carpool.
or on the side of, by the swamp.
You know, see, that's what, how many, and I had another question, how many teachers are there in Mary Beer School?
Teachers or staff?
Teachers
Just
and
teachers.
staff.
Oh,
Good,
Oh,
good point.
Yeah,
there's at least 50.
at least 15, at least.
At least 50.
Mhm.
How
I
many
gotta say
parking
too,
spaces does the school have?
Not enough.
I don't know, well, let's put it this way, that's another issue we have because they closed off the school. And
They probably have
I get
17.
tickets on 9th Street on the red because people are parking out of stall. It's bad. And I'll be 100% honest with you, it's very chaotic. And then the reason we looked at doing this because I guess they added some more classrooms or something. Next thing you know, we had teachers that were parking in the front here. And then we had employees who'd had no parking and had to park a couple blocks away. So we're looking for some kind of solution. If I tell you, I would look at, if you really want to do meters, I'd do meters for all on 9th Street and everything else. To make it fair, not just for people coming here in front, but there should be on meters, because and I told the school, it's not the city's responsibility to provide parking for school staff and teachers. That's not fair for the general public.
You know, if you look back at this school, Mary Beer School, has been there how many years? 40 years?
1970 something.
Yeah, okay, and that school. It's an old school. And then in 80, how many classrooms were added after that?
Absolutely.
And there's more.
Yeah, and there's more coming. And all the schools, you look at Robert Bruce School in Santa Maria, you look at Fairlawn School in Santa Maria, you look at all the older schools, El Camino, they all have the same problem. Where they've expanded so much, you know, that back then the population for this school was probably in the 80s was probably 3,000, now it's 8,000. And so it's almost like we need a whole three-tier parking space for just around here. How many city staff do we have, staff and workers here?
Well, a total of 40 employees, but that's not.
But that's
But
public
here at
works and
City
stuff,
Hall,
so-
it's, right.
The way that we looked at that, there's 11 spots. or enough for the employees who do not represent like public works, because they have the yard, they'll park their vehicles in the yard and then take out a vehicle truck. So we looked at that to make sure that those spaces were enough for the city workers who all they had was their personal vehicles.
This is a tough one. Meters to me, first of all, you gotta buy it, and it probably,
Okay, to add
maintain it.
food for thought, I just did some Googling, meter costs between $250 to $500 per meter. And,
Better be more than that.
no, I mean, typically they're installing a bunch of them at a time. It doesn't include the installation. And then, like a city like LA has an entire staff.
sure.
Of course, they've got like 35,000 meters, but they have meter technicians and engineers and,
Yeah.
you know, meter maids. And so it's not to say that there aren't, you know, some costs associated with administering such a program. But those are things to think about when installing a program. A lot of the meters down in LA, they pay for themselves, mostly because they're in high use areas where people are paying between $2 and $5 per hour into the meter.
And then they're getting.
We wouldn't, you know, we wouldn't be running those kinds of costs, so they're not nearly as cost effective as they'd be in an urban area.
Just for historical purposes, that the police chief, when they had parking meters in downtown area, he was responsible for maintenance. So if we get those,
No,
That's okay.
so this thing it just revolves around, okay, how do we solve this thing? And what is the school? I know that you said they blocked up parking at the school?
The way that's situated right now is the front parking lot is closed. They only have a few spaces there, but they closed that off, and some of the biggest issues are with parents dropping off and then teachers parking. And as you stated, they're still, they're gonna be more classroom, more students before this new school is built. So this is not gonna be the end of it. We're gonna be impacted more coming down, and we still have to figure out something. We're still figuring out the drop-offs. Councilperson Lozali had a great idea is the school wanted the parents to drive, park. They have an agreement with the church lot and then walk from the church lot to school.
So that's a separate issue than what we're talking
Yeah.
about now. So,
Well, but it kind of, that would alleviate the parents parking in the front during the morning. But people gonna park where they wanna park.
I also think, and I don't put in cut you off, I'm so sorry.
No, you're right.
So this has to be collaborative. The school has to be part of this discussion because they're making plans to build and they know their numbers and their staffing. So it needs to be something that's collaborative and built into their infrastructure, just like it's been on our table to accommodate our staff. So I don't think this is ideal. I don't think anybody's looking for blocking off parking, but I think it's what's necessary right now for our staff to make sure that they have a place to park when they come to work every day. I do know that we have a meeting that's kind of coming in to play with the district. Hopefully there's a plan that we could develop before the next school year. I mean, ultimately, we only have one more month of full school. That gives us the summer to kind of come up with a plan and maybe have something better in place before the fall. But my hope would be we don't let this go past the fall. This needs to be discussed with the district prior to school starting back up again in the new year, I think personally.
I want to hear from Shannon and the city staff. Do you think that the amount of parking that's proposed from city staff is enough? And to include this, like in May 2nd, May 3rd, whatever it is, we have SPCAG coming in at 3:30. School is probably out then, right? I don't know, maybe teachers.
They should be gone by then, yeah.
So what if there was a meeting at 12 or 1 o'clock? Where do people park? And I know I don't have the answer other than triple story. Yeah.
That's when you'll see where people are gonna park, especially after school. Because that's where parents are parking all right here,
Yeah.
right here, trying to get parking down here. So you'll see a really of the impact of what the parking looks like about 2:30 when they're coming earlier. As they're getting ready to walk up to the gates of pick up their child.
Right. But also with the collaborating with the school, I mean, is the school district encouraging and pushing the buses to be rode? You know, are they empty buses or are they saying, hey, we're at this point where we're highly impacted. We encourage that your child take the bus because we have a buildup and backlog of lots of traffic and they should be pushing that issue as far as utilizing our bus, the school bus service.
I think we need to create that relationship. I don't think that
Right.
relationship is built because the school currently only has 2 buses. So sometimes if there's too many kids, you don't have to go back all the way to school. come
Oh,
right
no, we
back.
have 2 routes.
2 routes, yeah.
There's 2 routes every morning. You have the morning route that starts when they first go out and there's not too many kids in the morning
But there's
at
2
that
buses.
time. And then you have 2, Gonzalo and Tino both go up. And then they come back, they do their second round. And they pick up. So the morning time, all the kids come back. It's in the afternoon where they have it limited to who can ride because before there used to be probably about like 9 or 10 different stops.
Right.
And now it's down to you have your stops in the morning, which is about probably 8 or 9 in the morning. For one bus and the other one has about 5.
So, yeah, I mean, the school should be pushing for rider, usage. I mean, that's mandatory. I know some of the parents wanna drop off their younger child, to school. And that's probably causing the major traffic. I know with my 3 boys going to school, they always would like to ride the early bus because they wanted to be on the playground. Prior to school starting, that was they thought they were gonna miss something big, so they wanted to be on it at 7 in the mornings.
Have we noticed that this road closure has just basically pushed the problem back versus actually resolving any issue?
Yes, it does.
Yes,
Which
I
way?
see it out my window every morning.
Yeah, 'cause I'm just gonna be honest, that's my observation, just in the morning, I feel like we sort of just pushed out the issue. Which obviously leaves it right at the city hall's front
Right.
steps, so.
Well, it's, from what I've seen, everyone has a different measuring of what is success. Mine is, are there injuries? I mean, people can, there's inconvenience, that's some people's measurements. They don't like it there, that's other people, but I'm looking at who's been injured. When you look at where it was, and Mr. Acosta can account for it, we had people who were making U-turns in the middle of the street, and students and parents were walking across the street. That was more horrific than anything else. And people, I don't care what you say, they wanted to park their car. That was sometimes almost get into a fight. They would park their car, get out, they wanted to walk their kids to the gate and then stand there and watch their kids. And there's only about 4 spaces there for a car, and then now you got the line backed up in the street and other people making U-turns, so. I would go there myself, even though I got other things to do per se, but just to alleviate that. And we'd give tickets, and we've had those, well, you were there helping me. When people were pissed off at me, because we were giving tickets for people that were making U-turns right in front of kids running across the street, so. Is this safer than what was before? Yes. Is it more of an inconvenience? It should, yeah, all you do is we're just moving the problem around
Right.
in actuality. So there's no 100% solution. And I've asked the superintendent to open that lot so that you can at least, this is, you're creating this on the city and we're taking the toll for it. But you look at 11th, that's where it's very dangerous, and you've asked for that and you've seen it. Well, they'll park on 11th and go across the street. That's like a freeway in the mornings with the workers coming through. And I've asked the superintendent, the crossing guards, they're not trained to do traffic control, so they're not allowed in the street. So all they can do is stand there and pretty much watch. And so it's a problem, it's a problem waiting to happen to get worse, so.
I
Need
may say,
solutions.
I do find that it is more disturbing now because they are not trained, and so what is happening is you have these cross guards and they're doing a stop and roll and kids are just running across the street and the lady is not even telling the traffic to stop, the kids are just bolting in front of the cars now. I'm like, holy crap, I have to call my daughter, because they're not trained, and so I do feel that this meeting needs to be facilitated very quickly. Just because instead of stopping, parents are being at right in front of the city hall, stopping in front of the stop sign, the kids are running out and somebody's trying to make a right turn.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we have to be very careful and be mindful of everything going on.
And the issue also that's happening on 11th Street now is traffic is stopping once somebody is right at the corner. So they're stopping and the crossing guard's trying to tell them to keep going. And she'll hit the button when she's trying to alleviate, but they still sit there and stop and wait and they're like, so then she's like, okay, so then she goes out. So now you got traffic on both of them backing up, going across. So it's just one of those where that's been part of the issue before, was when it wasn't blocked off coming off of Peralta. Everybody wants to turn left. So if she had to control both crosswalks, she's crossing this way while the car at the stop wants to go left. So they're just sitting there. So it's causing it to back up, which was causing people to want to make U-turns to come back out this way at 10. So now it's, since the road's closed there, it's still causing the backup because she's having to cross them this way, not so much here, but the people in the car see someone at the corner, because we're supposed to use
But
the pedestrian.
That's still an issue there. We're talking about the parking here, so. But
Could, have you ever thought of that green grass area? I know it's a lawn, but could that be converted into a parking lot?
You go talk to
well,
them.
yeah.
I think, like, I wanna support what Mayor Julian just said, which is we're getting on this expanded conversation about something we really don't have any control over. I mean, we don't set up the school board meetings to make the decisions about what they're gonna build and what gates they're gonna open and the times kids go in and the times that they're dismissed. I mean, we don't have the control over those, so that's why I feel like the school district does have to take the lead on that, because those are parameters that we can't control. They can stagger start times, they can give messages out to their parents, they can have staff out there educating parents, letting them know, hey, you guys are not allowed to cross here, you need to walk around. We can't do that as a city, that's not in our power, so we can collaborate. I'm very supportive of that, I'm happy to be at the table and have those conversations, but I think we can only control what we can for our stuff at this table, so does anybody want to move forward on this particular issue or have more questions?
So,
May I ask,
Sorry.
no, so the whole thing on the meters, was just to put out there. If it's 20-minute parking in the front and we have the employee parking, and open up parkings long enough for people to come in to conduct business with Shannon or with the building department or with Tag or Todd, they gotta be able to, because 20 minutes isn't enough, to accommodate for a meeting. So if that works out, I know you're still gonna probably have staff from here parking, because I know at one point they wanted to move the buses and everything off site, so it would have opened up more parking, but when that superintendent was there, they didn't jump out of building to look at, and it got sold. So there was one of those, but yeah, they've looked at ways to alleviate for the parking, but up here in the front, I mean, if it works for everybody, with the city, the only thing is the ones that are open are gonna be probably still used by some of the staff.
So just for future, I thought, would it do us good to have a joint meeting with the school board discussing this, or is that something we don't want to?
Isn't there a committee now working with that?
Yeah, I believe so, but in terms of a joint meeting, we're, Doctor,
We've had one.
We have one
before.
we're gonna have one in October.
I'm not talking a full.
Oh, yeah.
Just discussing this issue, just to get to,
We have a meeting that we're scheduling, and if I'm not mistaken, Councilperson Hernandez and Councilperson Lizaldi, you're both already, gonna be part of that. I have, one of the school board members who's also asked to be a part of that, and the superintendent. So, yeah, we have the people, I was trying to get, we also have, from the housing
Okay.
authority.
That was the one we were
You
waiting.
sent me that email. It's like someone did, so
Check.
I think that's the name that she sent me. Because that's gonna impact when they build there,
Right.
so we're trying to get,
Maybe they have land over there, you can park it on the school.
There you go.
something.
Mr. Mayor, to speak in small part to a question that you asked. I wanted council to be aware that the city went out for a request for proposals for facility master plan, which was something actually on the 22-23 goals for city council. I opened up bids last week. I'll be coming to city council with that item on May 9th. And it involves reviewing the city's facilities for both short-term and long-term purposes. And, it will speak to the use of the buildings by city employees. And I'll make sure that parking is included in that discussion. So that element can be included in that.
So it sounds like this may be premature if we move forward without specifics.
It's hard for me to answer that question.
Well, not for me, I think it's premature to.
But I wanted you to be aware that that was something that was in the works and can help perhaps speak to this question.
When did you say that was gonna happen?
So I'm bringing the notice of award recommendation to the May 9th meeting.
That's just a notice of award, but that's not.
Right, I read through the proposal, and the proposal says that the final document would be scheduled for completion in November. It's quite a comprehensive document.
That's a long time.
Also, off subject, but anyway, thank you for the safety striping of Obispo and West Main. And hopefully now we can all stay in our respective lanes and avoid oncoming traffic.
I apologize for the delay in that. Mother Nature was not supportive, but I'm happy that you're happy.
Okay, let's get it back to this ordinance. So what are the wishes, what about the staff, where are you with this?
I'm wonderful with it. I think it makes sense for now. I mean, if we have to change it after our facility planning, I think it'll make a lot of them in staff happy.
Okay, well, that's from the staff, that works from the staff. then.
Yeah.
It's not gonna solve the problem because there's, again, Phil and Chief. You gotta make some changes to this.
Yes, I was anticipating based on what I was hearing with the direction you wanted to go. Sounds like the plan is approved, except not 10-minute parking, 20-minute parking.
Correct.
But the problem is that it'll have to be fixed in the ordinances. Although we don't need to create 10-minute parking to have the hours proposed from 7 to 5 as opposed to the current 20-minute parking of 9 to 6. Do we have 20-minute parking elsewhere in the city? Anywhere?
Yeah, over on across the street from Bob Recibo. Or is that 2 hours?
No,
I'm sorry.
I
don't know.
Well, what I was going to propose is, when I was doing the research, the other cities don't designate the specific hours in the ordinance. So I was gonna suggest that we nix the 10-minute parking. But change the language to allow other 20-minute parking in accordance with hours as designated by the council by resolution or something like that. So that's what I was working on.
So you're working on that, so you wanna,
Well, if your discussion's finished, I can,
any other comments from
yeah.
the council? You good?
Just open to adopt the resolution.
No, I mean, in the ordinance. Sorry, I was answering a question to the chief.
I just said I'm just hoping to make a motion to adopt the resolution with the.
Yeah, I just need to advise you what the changes would be. So if you look at your ordinance, and this is for the record, so that we don't have to bring this, I mean, I could just bring it back next meeting. There's real no hurry, I don't think. I mean, it's not like, I mean, we just can't issue citations until it's, until it's approved.
I'd recommend bringing it back so you have it clear.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds good.
We won't be able, I don't think we'll be able to bring it on consent because it's a first reading. So we'll have a short item.
Okay.
Okay, I appreciate the extra time. I'll bring it back.
We can move on to the next item.
That's it.
You need to-
Just how about a motion to continue it to the next meeting?
Sure, so-
I'll move to continue city hall parking restrictions to the next meeting.
For a second,
I'll second.
discussion. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Future agenda item. We need to, and I want to talk to staff about this, to have a state of the city report.
You'd like that one?
Yes, and probably won't be, probably July. And put all our money in and say it's from the rock. Any other question or agenda items?
I have one that I forgot to tell Juana about, so I might as well let you know. We need to, once again, we have to review the local emergency. Yes, we have to do the local emergency every 60 days. We did it at the beginning of March.
Okay.
So
Coming up.
I anticipate that staff will recommend that it be rescinded at this time. But there may be some additional facts that would allow it to continue, but that's what I'm anticipating at the moment.
Any other additions?
Yes, now that I've promised it on record, I want to add the notice of award for the facilities maintenance. Or last time.
Clarify that, review of the local emergencies for the next meeting.
Yes.
Council announcements. Committee reports. SBCAG, our last meeting, the road, Black Road and Highway 166 actually should be finished. They'll start and should be finished by August. Signalization. And it went from 1.2 million to 2 point something million because of delays. Anyway, there's gonna be signalization at Black Road and 166 by the end of the summer. Yeah, it's been too long. And then we have a meeting next Wednesday,
At 3:30.
3:30 here with SPCAG, Caltrans. They'll be here at 3:30 to talk about what's going on with all the different plans with the Highway 1 and 166. So, and I don't know about how many council people should be here with that. Phil?
2, right?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. You mean,
No, because of Brown Act.
yeah, you can't have more than 2, unless it's a public notice meeting.
I'd like it to be a public notice meeting.
Okay, I guess if it's if the council members can attend a meeting, but they can't discuss like during the meeting unless they're sitting as a
That
body.
won't happen. I mean, if
Okay.
people need the discussion. I mean, if people are gonna wanna,
Well, then we should notice it as a public meeting and then you can have the council discuss. I'm sorry, I was
okay, yeah.
making a note. Would you explain again what the meeting you're
Well,
talking
we're
about?
meeting with SBCAG and Caltrans, because we pushed them on what's going on with Caltrans, with Highway Obispo Street, with Highway 166, with the train, with Main Street.
Okay, when you're saying you're meeting with SBCAG, you're meeting with SBCAG staff?
Their staff
Their staff.
and Caltrans.
Okay, if you want more than 3 council members there, I mean, you could designate 2 as a committee and then report to the whole council.
Yeah, I don't, is there interest for you? I would assume you want to be there. I'm assuming others, that's 3:30.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, yes, I would love to attend. But if it's more productive to have, I don't know who's attending, so if it's more productive to have the core members attend, because you guys wanna make action item lists, then that's fine. If it's gonna be open to the public, obviously, then I'll attend.
It needs to be open to the public.
Okay, well then I recommend we just, if we do it as a public meeting, like a community kind of meeting,
Right, exactly.
but not a meeting where you sit at the dais.
No, just a public meeting,
Yeah.
because I think people from Pasadena, DJ Farms.
Okay, and then we're covered, then you can talk and
Okay,
council members can weigh in and there's no
Okay,
Brown Act
cool.
violation, so.
all right.
And that was
So you
May
still-
what?
Okay, it's May 3rd.
May 3rd,
And-
3:30.
Mr. Mayor, I only bring this up because I'm not sure that that was the expectation from SB Canyon.
That's too bad, because I talked to, I'm not saying too bad to you. I talked to, what's his name? The point person for SBK.
So are
Becker?
you expecting there to be a full-on public comment where people have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes and?
No. But they can talk, they can actually listen to what Caltrans has to say.
Okay, which is,
Again, if we're gonna do it as a publicly noticed meeting under the Brown Act, people would be allowed to.
Well, let's do that then, because it's,
But we could make it so that you're not, since you're not sitting as a body, it's more of an informational
Like a
presentation.
workshop.
They may be able to speak, but there's not necessarily any need for interaction. They can just make their comments. Again, I don't know anything about this.
figure it out.
We'll figure something. All right,
It's gonna
let's,
be here May the 3rd at 3:30.
Okay.
So,
Can I just, I'm a little concerned by making it public only because, if we have this long list already that we know we have for this meeting, and then we open to the public,
which meeting?
will this meeting with, Caltrans
In
and
Caltrans.
SBK, we know that there's heavy issues that we need addressed,
Well, I think the issue is what is Caltrans doing?
right?
And because maybe Shannon knows, we hear they have some staff changes at the district office, so a lot of times when there's a staff change and the plans that were before them to review, then it's kicked down the road. We're talking about an environmental impact report that they want, that was done in 2002, and they want another one, which takes 8 months to do, or more, at a cost to the developer, so. The big ticket item is, there's some individuals that are interested in the commercial side of things, and they wanna know what's Caltrans' idea, because PG&E wants to, they are
Burying the lines.
bury the line, it's gonna cost $1 million. That was 5 years ago, it's gonna be probably $3 million. Anyway, the idea is to let people know, and let us know where Caltrans is, because we're right in the middle of 166 and one and railroad and the spur and all this other stuff, so.
But if their staff at those agencies aren't prepared for
Well,
that,
no, that's gonna be, their staff is gonna be prepared, because we're gonna ask them, we've already asked them questions. We want to report on what Caltrans is doing here in Guadalupe.
oh, I'm all for it.
okay, so your main concern is you just want that meeting to be open to the public. And you're concerned that if a majority of the city council shows up, there could be a Brown Act violation, and so my recommendation was to notice that as a Brown Act meeting, like we've done in the past. As an alternative, if that isn't acceptable to the other people attending and they'll decline to meet, if under those circumstances, we could still have the meeting be a presentation where the public's invited, they just wouldn't be allowed to participate, but then council would obviously not want to speak at that event either.
I can send them an email.
Well, let's Shannon and I guess, work with them and see if there's something we can agree to that is along the lines that you've requested, and then.
Well, we'll ask SPK to let Caltrans know that it's just an informative meeting about what they're doing in one, what they're doing in Obispo Street,
Yeah.
what they're doing with.
You just want the public to be informed primarily.
We wanna be.
Yeah, you want to be informed. Well, you could be informed. Two of you could be informed without the public being
Yeah,
present.
exactly.
So that's what you want it to be broader than that.
If it's a workshop, just
Okay.
an informational
Okay.
exchange.
I'm
Shannon?
just trying to understand.
That wasn't, I'm so sorry. That wasn't really the initial intention of what I was hoping to get out of it. We were going to be discussing things like 166 signal and the fact that we needed Caltrans to come back with an engineer's estimate and to talk about the details of what that engineering estimate had involved and what contribution they were going to be looking for this. I mean, it was gonna get into the serious weeds on specifics like that. It wasn't initially rolled out as an informational workshop, and so I'm wondering if maybe we need 2 meetings here.
That's what I'm thinking.
One that allows us to get into the weeds of, because it's gonna be weedy, right? To get into some of these nuances. And then once we get through some of the nuances and go, okay, where does that put us as far as a real direction? To then bring it out and say, okay, because we have some serious engineering deals to work out. And I'm really, really worried about it getting bogged down with a lot of, and I'm not opposed to input, not opposed to people being there, but we've got so much to try to cover that is gonna get just really bogged down. So I'm concerned about losing some of the productivity of the meeting that we really need to move forward on. I really need to figure out what kind of direction we're gonna go with that signal. But I'm worried that we're not going to get if we make it out as a public workshop.
And I think pre-gaming it, in theory, makes sense. If you have a smaller meeting first, really drill down the details and then follow it up with, and then.
I would love to.
Could you have it with 2 members of the council and still have that meeting with that drill down?
Yeah, it would.
You know, no, let's just work on the technical side of things and the engineering side of things. Once we get an idea of where they're at, then we can move forward.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, so just to
And
confirm,
it's gonna be the staff and.
okay, so we don't need the public
No.
notice, okay.
No.
But that's something I think I hear that you would like at some point in the future, and I think Shannon
Yeah.
heard that as well. Okay, thank you.
So you'll be there, Mayor?
Yes.
Christina, you'll be there? Okay.
I won't be there.
Oh, you'll-
I won't be there.
She's the gag also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So she
that's
didn't-
perfect.
Yeah, that-
You guys, that's
That's a good,
That's sufficient.
that's good.
And
Yeah.
I'm very excited for this. I think we all are, right? And I feel like I'm feeling with Shannon right now where it's like, we're gonna capture them at the table. We need to make that meeting count and we really need to move on some really big items that I think you two are perfect. You're gonna be great to represent us and really honor those real needs that we have as a city. So thank you for.
You be the
working
bad
that
person, I'll be the good person.
out.
Good cop, bad-
No one's gonna buy that.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No
Okay.
disrespect.
Since it's cleared, we have any further announcements from the council?
Yeah, thank you, for Viva la Arte, Tres Souls, that was a really good concert. Yeah, I enjoyed it. If you guys missed it, it was great.
I was just gonna say thank you to Hannah and Parks and Recs for all the upcoming events we have going on. And your presence on social media and really promoting a variety of positive activities in the community. So thank you and staff for working on that. It's a really exciting time, especially with the weather getting nicer and the ability to do more outdoor activities. I think you have some really great things coming up. So thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I'll motion to adjourn the closed session.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right.
Thank you all.